What's going on, guys? It's your boy Papa Games, and we're going to be doing episode 2 of Tech Talk with Papa G. And today we're going to talk about Ryzen overclocking, the Asus ROG Strix X370F, and Ryzen RAM, covering the G.Skill Trident Z RGB, and also the motherboard pinout. And we'll get into all that. I'm going to get the chat pulled up on here so that you guys can check this out. Might get a little bit of a weird feedback while I do this, and I'm sure the screen looks really strange to you guys, but we'll get it pulled up here. Guess I just need to mute this. That'd be good. Okay, and then get this chat pulled up. Pop that out. And now I can go put it back into OBS, and then you guys will be able to chat on the screen, and everybody will be able to see it. Alright, so let me get off of here. So one of the things that a lot of people talk about on my channel, or they just talk about in general with the Ryzen, is the overclocking and the RAM speed and what voltage it needs to be at and the temperature offsets, and everybody's just freaking tripping on all this. And you know, overclocking is like not supposed to be this complicated, and AMD has done a wonderful job of complicating the hell out of it, especially if you have a 1700X or 1800X, because of the SenseMe SKU with the temperature offset. So you've got 5 different apps all giving you different freaking temperatures, and you know, nobody knows what's right and what's not right, and blah 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 blah. So you know, this app updates and then it's the correct temperature, but this app didn't update. And then you've got the Ryzen Master, which you should trust because it's made by AMD and it will give you the temps. But everybody's just tripping about it, and everybody's like, man, I'm gonna buy the biggest, most expensive RAM there is, you know, because it's got to be that way, you know, because it's Ryzen, and you know, you got to have the fastest RAM possible to get the most out of the system. And that's not true at all. Okay, yeah, you know, if you're going from like 2333, you know, all the way up to 3200, yeah, you're talking about 1000 megahertz, then it's going to make some kind of difference. But where you're going to see most of these differences is in synthetic benchmarks, and people just need to quit tripping over that, because you're building your rig to play games, right? You know, or do processing for, you know, you're rendering your videos for your YouTube channel, or you know, maybe you have a job where you have to do rendering in Blender or Sony Vegas or something like that. But people just trip over this RAM speed. And in the games, I mean, yeah, they've run benchmarks, and you know, how long ago were those benchmarks? Does it still really make that big of a difference in your RAM speed? You know, no, it doesn't. And like I said, when you're talking about 1000 megahertz, yeah, it's going to make some kind of difference in your games, but it's still not a lot. Still not a lot. It's going to make a good difference in synthetic benchmarks like Cinebench, you know, and number crunching, you know, apps and benchmarks and stuff like that. So but what I wanted to talk to you about is, okay, so like my RAM in particular was the G.Skill Trident Z RGB, and let's pull it up on Newegg right now. Alright, so I got the G.Skill Trident Z RGB. Oh great, freaking pop up. Oh, okay, so it was still taking in, and I got 16 gigabyte. Alright, I got the CL16. There's 3200, there's 3000. Let's see if this is the CL16. Yes, yes, this is the CL16, which is your CAS latency. So See, now this is $161.99. Okay, now let's go look at the 3200 is $171.99. Not bad, okay? In this case, right now, at this in particular moment, sure, go ahead and go for the extra 200 megahertz because it's only $10 more. When I bought mine, the difference between 3000 and 3200 was mine was 141 and 3200 was 181. And that's not worth it. $40 for 200 megahertz is absolutely not worth it. So I went with the 3000. You're going to see absolutely no difference in FPS on games. So it's foolish to spend another $40 or however much the price difference is when you do purchase yours. Now, back to overclocking on the Ryzen. You know, I run mine at a 3.8 on all 16 cores all the time. And people are tripping about that too. Well, do it to 3.9, 4.0. Again, 100 megahertz, 200 megahertz is gonna make like a 1 to 2 maybe frames per second difference in games, guys. We're using these to play games on, not run synthetic benchmarks all damn day. So you can crunch the numbers and say, oh, I beat my buddy's score on Cinebench R15. Well, sure, overclock it and do that if you want to. But then you might as well drop your overclock back down, give your system a break, and run it at 3.8 or 3.9 or whatever you can get it up to without having flames shooting out the back of the damn thing. And just play your games and enjoy them without all that added heat, because it ain't worth it. So you bought the extra speed for the RAM. You got the what is it, the Flare X? Let's look at that. Let's look at the G.Skill Flare X. There you go, $187 for 16 gig, so now you're up to $190 for 16 gigabyte of RAM. This is ridiculous, okay? The difference between 2400 and 3200. Outrageous, guys. $190 for 16 gigabyte of RAM. Don't do it. When you could get, right now this is 161. Like I said, I paid 141, so it'll go on sale here and there. Just keep your eye out for it, or shop somewhere besides Newegg. Maybe you'll find it. But $140 for 16 gigabyte of RAM is, with RGB features and things like that, and I knew for sure worked with this motherboard, which is the Asus ROG X370F Gaming, and that's why I chose, to go with the Trident Z RGB instead of some other RGB RAM, because I had researched it and found out that it worked pretty well with this motherboard. I understand that there's still people having trouble with that. Update your Aura drivers, go to the X370F webpage and go to support, download the latest version of the Aura software. Everything will work fine on here. Mine works awesome. Everything's linked together. I can control it all from the Aura software, the motherboard, the RAM, the Enermax cooler, anything that's hooked into it, RGB strips, everything works fine. But anyways, just back to the overclocking. That's all I really want to cover in this video, and it's not going to be that long. I just want to tell you guys to stop tripping over doing overclocking so far, because it's not going to make a difference. You're going to put a hell of a strain on your system. You're going to add a lot of heat, and you're going to take away from the life of your components, and when you add all that extra heat in your case, then you're also putting more strain on your GPU, because now your GPU's got the extra heat to deal with. It's not worth it. Get it to a decent speed with a decent temperature. You should be idling somewhere around in the 30s, up in the 60s under heavy load. And while you're gaming, a lot of times it's not heavy load. When you're doing the synthetic benchmarks, then yeah, you should expect to see mid 60s, possibly even high 60s if you're on air, while you're doing these benchmarks. But while you're gaming, you probably shouldn't see temperatures that high unless you've been in a really long gaming session and your GPU's heating up the ambient temperature of your case and all that. And if that's the case, you probably need to get better airflow in your rig, maybe exhaust some heat out the top, you know, and get some more out of the back however you can. And then, you know, of course, you always have water you can think about too, you know, do all-in-one or a custom loop or whatever suits you guys, you know. But I just want to say, you know, stop tripping over overclocking, you know, your Ryzen to 3.9, 4.0, 4.1. You know, focus more on, if you're going to focus on overclocking something, focus on overclocking your GPU as far as you can, because that's where you're going to see the big difference in FPS in your games. A good overclock on your GPU, you know, you can see a significant 10 frames to 15 frames per second difference. Okay, if you got a good overclock, you know, just depending on what kind of GPU you got. But definitely focus more on that. Don't focus so much on the RAM. If you bought the 3000, run it at 2933. If you bought the 3200 and you can only get it to 2933, you shouldn't have bought the 3200. If you got 3200 and you can get it to run at 3200, cool, you know, then that's great. And I hope you didn't spend a bunch more money to get that extra 200 megahertz, because it ain't gonna make a damn bit of difference in your frames per second between my frames per second on my 3000 megahertz RAM that I paid $40 less for. You see what I'm saying? So and you know, maybe some people are thinking, oh, this guy's, you know, he's a small channel, you know, he doesn't even have 500 subscribers, you know. I build rigs, that's what I do. I build rigs for people on Facebook, and I've been doing computer stuff for years, okay, building computers and stuff, you know, back from the dial-up days. I was around when the frickin' internet started for us and we were getting 4 KB per second. So, but, you know, I'm gonna pull the cam down and I'm gonna show you guys, because some of you aren't on my channel and you don't know. So this is my rig here, okay, and it's the one that I used in the thumbnail, and everything is tied into the G.Skill Trident Z RG, or the RGB for the Asus Aura, and it's all be controlled with the software, guys. This thing runs 24/7. I do all of my uploads for YouTube. I do all my rendering in Sony Vegas. I hammer on this thing, doing, you know, ultra wide, insane 5K resolution, you know, 5120 by 2160. I'm talking just hammering on this thing, and I never get crashes, guys. Consider that when I'm talking to you, okay? If you're getting blue screens, it's probably your RAM. If it's just completely cutting out, going black, and then your PC restarts, that's probably has something to do with your computer, your voltage. So when you're doing your overclocks, you know, just do it mild, guys. If you can afford to. If you're not pushing for a real heavy overclock, there's nothing wrong with using auto voltage. It's not going to run it high all the time. It's going to go up when it needs to, and because there's a thing called V-droop, and when you get to V-droop, it dips down, your voltage dips down, and that's why your computer crashes, okay? By setting it to auto voltage, it's going to help keep it up there so that you don't get that little millisecond of V-droop that's going to cause it to crash. It'll keep it running, okay? Go try to render something in Sony Vegas at 4K for an hour, and you'll find out if your rig's ready to be stable and running all the time. So but as far as gaming, it's not going to hammer on your CPU like that. It's going to hammer on your GPU. So like I said, focus on your GPU for overclocking. Don't get caught up in the RAM speed thing. Is there a difference between 2400 and 3200? Yeah, you're damn right there is. But mostly in synthetic benchmarks, some in games, okay, but still not a lot. But the difference between 3000 and 3200 ain't shit, okay? So don't even sweat it. If you can save some money, save the money. Like I said, if you can get yours for 141 like I got mine, go ahead and jump on it, because you're going to save $30–40. Don't worry about the Flare X. You know, unless you're just not into RGB, you can turn the RGB off on these and still save yourself some money. But G.Skill does make good memory. I definitely recommend using them. One of the other things I want to talk about in this video is helping a guy build his first rig on Facebook. And he was having some trouble with the pinouts, you know, for your power switches on your case and all that stuff. getting your manual that comes with your motherboard. I know this is basic for some people, you know, but for other people it may not be. Make sure that you're putting those pins exactly how they're supposed to be, guys, because he had some of his flipped over and stuff and couldn't get it to power on and was thinking something was drastically wrong, which wasn't the case at all. Excuse me, I'm gonna take a drink. But so, you know, we got that sorted out and got his rig up and running. Now listen to this shit. We go over to you know, I point him to the Asus ROG Strix X370F page. It downloads the BIOS, the 813, the latest ones, the same damn BIOS that I'm running. And you know, he just we just got him walked through formatting his D drive. So I said just make a folder on the D drive named BIOS, put the cap file in there, and that's it. And then you're going to reboot, and we're going to go into the BIOS and update with that cap file. So we go into the BIOS to do the update and read from this file, yes. And then while it's in the middle of processing, the damn thing freezes, guys. We've made no other changes to the BIOS. Okay, so it froze up, bricked. So I do want to tell you guys that we've found out, because I contacted Asus yesterday and found out that this board does not support BIOS flashback. Okay, that means you can't put a cap file on a USB or use a CD-ROM and it's going to pick up on that BIOS when you boot up. Once you screw up that BIOS, if you got a bad flash, then that's it. You're going to have to send it back in for servicing, you know, or have them replace it, send you a new one or whatever. But so just be careful, because I have no idea why this happened to him, but it just froze in the middle of processing. We tried to give it some time and wait for a half hour or so, and it just wouldn't budge, wouldn't move. It shouldn't take any longer than maybe 5, pushing 10 minutes at the most. If it takes more than 10 minutes, something's wrong. So if it, you know, if it says processing and then the meter just hangs there, unfortunately you're probably going to be bricked. And in this case, on this board, there's nothing that you can do about it. The Hero boards have the flashback, they support it, where you, like I said, you can put a BIOS on a USB stick, put it in the top left corner on your USB on the back, and that's your flashback port. And then all you do is put that in there with the cap file on there. You have to rename it to whatever your motherboard book says that it needs to be renamed to, which we did with his. But still, like I said, after contacting Asus, we found out that it doesn't support the BIOS flashback. So something to consider when you guys are thinking about this board. I love this board personally. I think it's great. It's a good overclocker. You can set a manual voltage on it. I'm finding out from other people that, you know, the B350s and even some other X370 boards, you can't set a manual voltage on, which really sucks. I run mine on auto, but if you guys are wanting to tinker with overclocking, being able to set a manual voltage on your CPU is pretty much a must. Not a must, but it's definitely preferred, you know. So all I do on mine, I set it to DLCP standard. I set my RAM up to 2933. I set my BLCK multiplier to whatever gets me, just keep going up to gets me to 3.8 gigahertz, and then I set my RAM voltage at 1.36, and I leave my CPU voltage on auto. But I'm on water, so, but my temperatures are really good. System's rock solid. So, you know, you guys see all the videos I put out, and I'm doing all that on this rig, all them benchmarks, all them videos, all that rendering in Vegas, and I never get crashes, guys, ever. I mean, not it. The only thing that might crash is PUBG, you know, because it's just really unoptimized, but that'll just crash back to the desktop. But everything is just rock solid, guys, and the numbers are good on my benchmarks, especially what I'm seeing compared to other people who have the same rig or, you know, really close or identical. And I get a lot of questions, well, why are your FPS so much better than mine, you know? It's probably because you got a bad overclock on your GPU, or you got a bad overclock on your CPU, or you screwed around with your RAM timings and you got that messed up. You know, people mess with stuff too much. You read it, and you're gonna go read an overclocking article, and you can read 10 of them, and 10 different people are gonna tell you 10 different things to do and how to do it, and they're all gonna be different. Okay, so and just like the one I'm telling you is different, but what I'm telling you is rock solid, stable, safe settings for temperature and to keep you from crashing, so that you can enjoy your games, enjoy your your workstation, whatever you use it for. So hey, I see somebody just joined in viewing. I appreciate you dropping in, and really I'm pretty much about got this one wrapped up. So we were just talking about overclocking and the RAM speeds on the Ryzen and why it doesn't really matter that much, and but yet everybody trips about it and throws their money at these RAM manufacturers because they know. Just because it works good on somebody's, they can say we're going to charge whatever we want for it, and people will pay for it. You know, use your brain instead of your wallet, okay? Hey, Vietcon, how's it going, man? Excuse me. Yeah, so it was just talking about overclocking and, the RAM speeds and all that kind of stuff, and the pinouts on the Asus X370 and all that good stuff. So, yeah, like I said, that about wraps it up. Vietcon, I'll catch up with you on Discord here in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and shut down this stream. So, this is episode 2 of Tech Talk with Papa G, and I'm going to try to start doing these weekly. So, if you guys are interested in this, then please like the video and let me know in the comments, because my videos that don't get a lot of views, I'm a small channel, so my videos that don't get a lot of views or a lot of comments, it makes me feel like they're not worth my time, or that people don't want to watch them, because so I want to focus on what you guys want to see. So if you do want to see more of these Tech Talk videos, I know there's not much to look at on the screen. We're just checking out Newegg and stuff like that, and you guys are listening to me talk. But if you don't, if it's something that you guys don't want me to continue doing, then I won't. And if it is something that you want, then just let me know. But let's see what Viacom. He said he helped his friend last night who had trouble with his hard drive that he installed, which that it showed in the BIOS, but not in Windows Explorer. Okay. Yeah, so like Viacom was saying here, a lot of people get this. I got it the first time I got onto Windows 10. So if you're building a new rig and you got your main drive, your C, and then you got your G drive, it'll show up in the drive will show up in your BIOS. But when you go into Windows after setting it up for the first time, your D drive is not going to show up. So what you need to do is you go down here at the bottom left where it says type here to search, and you type in drive management, and this will pop up, create and format hard disk partitions. So you just click on that, and then you're going to get this. I don't know why it says connecting to virtual disk service. Really strange. Okay, here we go. Alright, so this is going to pop up here, and you're going to have disk 1 and disk 0. So disk 0 is your C, and then you're going to have this other one, except it's not going to have a partition on it. So like Viacom said there, all you got to do is well, you'll have to format it first, and when you format it in NTFS more than likely, and then you just need to do a simple volume. So by doing a simple volume, you'll have to click to make a partition and simple volume, and that's it, and then you're going to have your D drive, guys. So like Viacom said, easy peasy, but a lot of people don't know. I mean, Windows 10 has a lot of stuff built into it that wasn't in 8 or XP or whatever. So that's yeah, that was a good little thing to talk about there, because we just ran across the same problem with that dude yesterday too. So we were doing the same thing. Viacom says when he did his rig, I had my hard drive from my uncle that was in a different format from some different video hard drive, then went to dynamic disk to like NTFS or something, but I forgot. Yeah, there's different formats that you can do, and let me pull that up again because you guys might actually be interested in this. So I'm going to pull this up one more time. Now if you'll see, mine is not NTFS, and this is a external 3 terabyte hard drive, or 4 terabyte, sorry, and I have mine in a REFS format. Okay, and you guys would be surprised, the speed on these things it's a USB 3.1, and the speed on them is really close to your SATA speeds. So look into this and read about this REFS because it's new to Windows 10. I've been using it now for a few months, and I actually install a lot of games on my external 4 terabyte, and then a lot of the benchmarks that you guys see on my channel are those games running right off of that external hard drive. So that's something to consider. Like I said, read up about this REFS, or maybe we can cover that in the next Tech Talk on you know, what partition or you know, what type of format is best for your hard drives. And I've actually run the benchmarks, and when comparing a benchmark from my external to my internal SATA, then my external actually won on speed testing. So we can do that, and yeah, that's what we'll do. The next episode of Tech Talk, we're gonna cover hard drives, how to partition them, and you know, what kind of format you should be doing, and then we'll run some benchmarks and do some live benchmarking on there and actually show the numbers to back up my claim. So alright, Vietcon, I'll catch up with you on Discord. Everybody else, I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. And I'm going to start doing this at the end of these videos. I would just like to take a minute to thank some people who recently subscribed. I see Alvin Sony recently subscribed. Let me see who else I got here. Soft Scale Hunter N7, Retro Gaming, Mehmet Turgut, and I'm sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly. Dazred Gaming, John Paul Bacon, and looks like Brandon's 318. Yeah, that covers about the last 5 days. So I appreciate all of you guys subscribing. If I didn't get your name, it probably hasn't alerted me yet through email. As soon as they do, I'll hit you guys up at the end of the next video. But thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Like I said, if you guys want to see more of these, please like, please comment, let me know you like it and that you want to see more, and I'll be sure to start doing these on a weekly basis. So alright guys, thanks again.